Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Cody. I'm a private boater, and just like a lot of you guys, we just found out what type of permits we're going to have for this upcoming summer. And some of you guys might have won a Middle Fork or a Selway or a Main, and this is going to be a start of a multiple series videos about trip planning for the Selway River. And why I want to do trip planning definitely for the Selway is because a lot of us have never either been on it, and definitely usually when you win a permit, now you're stuck to be the trip leader of a trip that you've never done. And so I want to talk about water, talk about group sizes, how many days on the water, and I'm going to go over a few different videos covering those. So today I'm going to focus purely on your group size, the type of boaters you want, access, and shuttles. And then on the following video, I'm going to talk about river flows and how to predict and how to kind of manage those different river flows. So starting off, I'm going to bring up Google Maps here. And so the put-in for the Selway is Paradise Boating Site. And let's pull up Paradise Boating Site here. So at this junction is where the actual boat ramp is. And then right up here in this area is where the campground. There is also a place to launch boats here on Whitecap Creek that I've seen a few people launch their boats for or on like different videos. But what's nice about the Selway and what's the downside of the Selway is only one group a day gets to go. But because only one group gets to go a day, that means you have the whole boat ramp to yourself. So when I went and, when I plan to go again, I like getting to this boat ramp a day early so you have the entire day to take it over, put boats into the water, and just have a really relaxing time. This boat ramp is not a great one to slide boats. It's one at a time. And so it's really nice to have the entire day to get everything ready. So the next morning when you wake up and it's your launch day, you can get on the water and start paddling. Access to Paradise Boating Site is only really, I believe you can come up and over the mountains here. But it's such a bad road that it's actually faster to go all the way out here towards Missoula and back for the shuttle companies. And so when driving in, you get to the town of Darby. And so Darby is going to be your last place to get fuel, ice, everything before you start your trip up into the Bitterroot Wilderness. Right south of Darby is your access road, and it's going to bring you up towards the ranger station that you're going to pick up your permit. And what's hard about picking up this permit is if you are launching on a weekend or you don't plan on driving between Darby and the put-in during normal business hours, the ranger station isn't going to be open for you to pick up your permit. And so with that, if you have won a permit, make sure that you take the time and read through all the literature, because I believe it's 2 weeks before your launch date. And I can't remember if it's 2 weeks, 10 days, but somewhere around there, they want you to call. And so they can know what is your intentions to and what time you plan on picking up that river permit. Because it's a small ranger station. It's not staffed 24/7. And so if you're coming through at night, they can either have something set out for you or that they can also have have maybe somebody come down and meet you to get all your boat tags and get all signed in. So the drive between Darby and the Paradise Boating Site, depending on how fast you drive, is about 3 hours. The road last year was incredibly rough. They hadn't got a grader in on there to kind of smooth everything out. So it was a solid 5-mile-an-hour road. Take your time. You're not in a hurry to get down there. That's why you go down a day early. And just take your time really enjoying that area that you might never see again in your life. And also, like, you don't want to be beating up your truck and your trailer getting all the way into the boating site because it's got to get shuttled all the way back out. So once you get to Paradise, there's a campground right there. That so I'll talk about the actual boating site here. Let's see if we can get it up to satellite. There it is. So this area that you're actually launching your boats is an incredibly small area. You can fit like one or two trucks, but this is where the pack trail is. And so there's signs all over. They really want you to know that in this area, you need to keep this clear because the U.S. Forest Service or other agencies or private people might be coming through in 10, 15-person pack trains, and they don't want to try to squeeze in between you and your truck. So what we did is we just got kind of one vehicle, two vehicles at a time, dropped all of our stuff, moved them over to the side here, and there's plenty of room for that pack train. And then once you are all done and you're going on the river, this isn't where you park your trucks. So right here is a Forest Service. This is where like they were running a pack team out of and like in this campground, and they want you to park in between this road and these fences here if you can. I would really advise if you have the ability to, if your truck and trailer fits, back in towards this fence, because when we were there were a lot of vehicles that were parked parallel to that road, and it made it really hard for us to find a spot to get all of our vehicles in. And then where we camped was right down in this area. There's plenty of room. You're not going to be fighting other people. And then you can see that little boat ramp here. That's where other people that I've seen launch boats. But we didn't have to pay anything. There's no services in this area outside of a toilet. No garbage, no anything like that. Obviously, because they're not bringing in garbage trucks to take away your stuff. That's 3 hours in. Then on the access, just to wrap up access on here, your takeout is over here at Race Creek. And I think what's hard sometimes, right? Like just trying to figure out where put-ins and takeouts on new stretches of river that you've never done, is hard in my opinion. And so Race Creek Campground, this is where you take out at. And there's a gravel bar just downriver of the actual campground. And there's plenty of room for multiple trips to be getting off. We ended up running into 2 other trips taking off on the same time just because we were running at a different pace. But you can pull off here and then all the way across this gravel bar. There's plenty of spots. This area at Race Creek, you're probably, 2 hours, hour and a half, maybe an hour, between this like junction at Lowell. And so this is where like the Locksaw and that area is. And this is a pretty busy traveled gravel road. Take your time, enjoy seeing Selway Falls and leaving an area that, again, you might never get to see again in your life. The campground and the takeout itself, I don't know about you guys, but I get really nervous about missing takeouts. This is not a river that you have to worry about that. This section of water all the way down through here is pretty slow and meandering. And then when we came through, you can usually see people camping right here on this edge at Race Creek. And then the takeout itself is so long and it's such slow moving water that it's pretty much impossible for you to miss it. Now I want to talk about moving on outside of access. And with all of this, if you guys are planning a Selway trip and you have any questions, my email is on my YouTube account. It's private.whitewater@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out for anything that you have. I've only done it once. I'm lucky enough and hopefully going to be able to get a second trip on it this year. And so, but I'm happy to share any issues that we have found doing our first trip. And then hopefully, if I get this second trip under my belt, that, I'll start being more and more comfortable running this river. We use, me personally, is All River Shuttle. The owner's name Michelle. They run on the lower salmon a lot. That's their bread and butter. But they also do a lot of other trips here. So they do the Selway. I believe in, and you would have to ask her directly, but I'm pretty sure the Selway she only does trips, I believe, up until like July, like middle of July. At the rest of the end of permit season, I believe she transitions over. That's when the lower salmon starts running, and they're moving tons of vehicles a day. And they also do the main and the middle fork, depending on if they have enough drivers there. But they're an incredible company. All of the times that they've ever moved my vehicle, and I've probably used them about 6 times or so. My truck has been well taken care of. They have always put keys exactly where they should be. She emails. On the Selway last year, she called me and was just to make sure that my whole group shuttles were properly set up. Talked to me about road conditions, and she's an incredible business owner. They're in Whitewater, Idaho. There's not a lot in Whitewater, Idaho, and so it's awesome that she is providing a service to the rafting community. I know shuttles are expensive and they're getting more expensive, but I always just look at it as way cheaper than paying for a guided trip down the river. So if you just figure out what one spot on a guided trip is, it pretty much pays for your whole trip between shuttles, food, everything like that. So please use reputable companies. Please, if you can, tip. I tip 10 to 15% for my trips. And I think that's a different conversation that I'll have on this channel. But we need to keep as many shuttle drivers that we can in the community, because companies are getting harder and harder to find, usually elderly and retired people to move our vehicles. And then last that I really want, or a few things, I guess, to touch base on this trip is group size. The Selway, and I've touched back on it during my video trip report of the 2023 run. And the Selway is a river that should not be taken lightly. And I truly believe that a lot of people don't take it as serious because it's a permitted river and that it's so sought after. And it's only sought after because there's 62 permits. And a lot of people that I've met, they would happily do the Selway, but they'll say like, oh, there's no way I'll do the Illinois. And I think those two rivers are pretty closely in the same boat of difficulty. And I understand that as water levels drop, that it can get easier because not as continuous, but then there's way more rocks. And so you're just taking smaller boats. So you might be taking IKs, there's different ways to manage those low flows. But I would prefer that a group takes maybe 1 or 2 less people that might not have the skills than to put the whole group, and definitely those 1 or 2 people, at risk of really bad swims. The Selway, definitely at the 3-foot range, is definitely the first half day on the Selway it's impressive because there's not any named rapids in the first half a day, but they are just so continuous. Your ability to read and run Whitewater has to be top notch. And then because it's so continuous and such a steep river, that a swim, if you don't have a good safety net to be able to get a boat to shore, I mean, you're gonna lose some gear. You're gonna be maybe in a really tough spot, and people could take some really long swims if they aren't competent paddlers, aren't physically fit. So really take that in perspective. I think a lot of times, like, we want to share this sport with as many people as we can, and definitely when we get these sought after permits, you want to fill it with just 16 great people. And sometimes those great people might not have the skills, and maybe they can come be a passenger on a boat. But I think a lot of times we are so good at providing people the opportunity to come raft with us. We sometimes don't think is it a good idea for them to come raft with us. We ran on group size. I think we ran an 8-person group last year. Was my permit. And we had, like anything else with the river community, we had a lot of people add or drop off right at the last moment. And I think a 16-person group is great. A 8-person group was phenomenal. But I wouldn't take anything less than 3 boats on this river. Definitely like 4 boats. We had 6, and I felt like that was a great number. Definitely if you have 2 solid groups that you can like break it into to be able to provide some safety. And the last thing I want to talk about here is river maps. So what's sad is this is one of my new favorite companies, GoRafting.com. They kind of really fixed the problem that I had with river maps. And I'm going to do a full video just like on this site and what they have and why I don't really like paper river maps. But they don't have one for the Selway. And I mean, who knows if they ever will. It's just such a rarely ran river that might not be really worth their time and effort to put one of these things together. But if they had one of these, this is what I would recommend. But without that, my recommendation is I took just your standard paper map. I will, over the next video, I'll talk about camps, length of trip, and then the river map that I used that I found to be somewhat helpful. I don't use paper maps on the river anymore, just out of bad experience. So outside of that, thank you. This has been a long rant on the Selway. Hopefully these next few videos I can really, drill down and provide maybe a little bit of help for people to get their trips, really solid and have a good time on an incredible river, and one that you might only get to do once in your entire paddling career. So outside of that, stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.